yeah, it was just, and I'm also like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. Like, what do you want me to say, And they were like, is it time? Do you think you feel like pushing? You feel like pushing? I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, what do you mean? Like, push? I don't understand what you're saying. Right now, I'm having contractions, but what are you saying to me?
This is the Birth Agni podcast, the fire that brings us alive, that burns myths and opens a channel of authentic natural birth stories. This show debunks the many myths of the medicalized births, showcases the plethora of choices a pregnant couple can make to embark on their empowered birth journey. I'm Divya Kapoor, a certified birth and lactation counselor and an aspiring traditional birth attendant. Let's get the flames blazing high. Home births in India have never been a new phenomena. We've become one of the most populous countries with a very young population because not long ago, women birthed at home. Today's guest, Nisha, mother of two, who loves cats, with her second born, realized how stupid it is to have to move out to an unknown place to birth when she could have just been at home to do so. Her first experience at a birth center in Kerala was managed. She was instructed around to do things, to push, to be this, and was put on a time cap, and it was not pleasant. Today, we will hear her story of how her experience with the firstborn at a birth center was, and how from there on she came to a decision to free birth at home the second time around. And apologies. You may rightfully ask, where have I been? Apologies for a gap of 3 weeks and unannounced. So I was at my training from 1st August to 25th. We did release an episode in between with Chavi. In case you've not explored that, please do listen to it. And I was on the job. I was training to be a traditional midwife. I am training to be a traditional midwife, a birth keeper in Kolkata with senior midwife KL, Krishna Laulia. She's a Hawaiian midwife, contemporary of Iname Gaskin and others from her time with over 50 years of experience. I go gaga over her. She has assisted 1400 plus births with just about 4% cesarean rates. I will share the details of my experience of training in the next episode. And I have another announcement. Yes. The announcement is that the podcast is now rated in the top 5% globally in its category. Earlier, it was in the top 10%. It has elevated to 5, and that is because of you and your appreciation and love. So, thank you so much. I hope to continue bringing educational and empowering stories of births to you through my own experience and that of other experts. And now, hi Nisha, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, lovely to be here.
So, we did speak before coming on the live, and we did go
Yeah,
through your journey on a brief. Are you able to hear me fine?
yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah. So now let's begin with your story in a brief, in a gist here also, so that we begin right from there.
Okay, so you want me to be able to talk about my first birth?
Yes, first and the second both.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Nisha, and both my babies were born in a very, I would say, very mindful way. My first baby, when I was pregnant the first time, I kind of always, being a person who does a lot of research, found that the best place to give birth would be not in a hospital. So I went finding the right place to give birth and found Birth Village, which is a birth center in Cochin. So I ended up moving there for the last 2 months, almost 2 months of the birth of my pregnancy, and I gave birth there. And yeah, I mean, that experience also was wonderful, but it also had left me with a lot of questions. And obviously, once I was pregnant the second time, and I kind of delved even deeper into myself and the birth world, I found that there was a better way to give birth, a more efficient way to give birth, which is giving birth at home. So I went into that, and I completely gave into it. I surrendered into my pregnancy. Had a wonderful pregnancy and a wonderful birth. And yeah, I'm a home birth advocate, and would love for all women to know that their bodies work and our bodies are powerful, and like any other animal, we can also give birth in the privacy of our safe spaces with our loved ones. And obviously, unless you are ill or your baby is ill, you don't need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, so that was a good, important point to begin with about home
Yeah.
births and how it empowered you in a way. But Nisha, did you begin there with the first one? How has, if I may ask, how has your own history at home of parents? How did they birth? Your grandparents? Where did that wisdom come in that I want to find a birth center? And there in
Mhm.
Bangalore, there are a few birth centers now. I'm not sure if they were there back
Yeah.
then. So, how about how did that start? That journey into finding a birth center?
Actually, it's been a while now. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, both my parents, my grandparents were all born in a hospital. Even my grandmother was born in a hospital. I don't know about my great grandmother. I never asked, but maybe I'll ask now. But I'm thinking even she was probably born in a hospital because she was not in India. She was settled somewhere. She was in Malaysia and had gone there initially. So I'm thinking she was also born in a hospital actually. But yeah, for me, I mean, the natural thing was to find a hospital. Obviously, when you're pregnant, you work on autopilot, right? Next thing you do, you find a gynecologist, and you hope the gynecologist is nice, like what you see in the movies, right? That's your reference. You're like, hope they are like this
Right,
fun, sweet, friendly gynecologist, You don't think of it from your point of view, like, what do you want? You think
right,
about externally about impressing someone, just making sure they like you. So I mean, obviously, like we go in from that angle.
right,
But then I went for this one. My first appointment was really good gynecologist, one of the top
right.
hospitals in Bangalore,
Wow.
and at that point, I just thought she's a top doctor. That's how you see she's a very good doctor.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
what does that
Known.
mean? Yeah, what does that
Yeah,
mean? A top doctor is what? A very good surgeon. That's what she is.
right.
And
Yeah.
she was really good for high risk births. In case you had a lot of issues, I'm sure she would have been a brilliant doctor, right? To
Was she
come
known
in
for
and
was she known for normal births then?
I think yeah, she kind of was one of those people who have written that she encourages vaginal births. Okay.
Yeah.
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 But in a hospital setting, a vaginal birth is not normal, in my
Of
opinion. A
course.
vaginal
Yeah.
birth is just a vaginal birth.
Right.
That's all it
Yeah.
is. And also from people I found out that she was one of those doctors who did routine episiotomies.
Okay. You
So
learned that later?
I learned that actually before the birth. I learned when I was pregnant. I learned from one of her ex patients who
Okay.
had a episiotomy from her. She was still shocked, and she told me, she did an episiotomy, and I wrote her an email. But anyway, I mean, it was all that. It was all that I heard about doctors, and I was just like, this can't be it. And at that point, I was one of those people, previously when I heard about home births and all these hippie types, in the US having home births, I would just be like, what's wrong with them? If something could go wrong, the baby could die. How irresponsible! I was one of those people. And then when I finally did some research and I found a birth center, and I listened to so many birth stories from the birth village itself about how women were having such a peaceful birth experience. And I was like, okay, so this is the next best alternative for me.
Okay.
I
You
mean,
found
this
that
is
on social media? Did you find that
on
on
social
social
media,
media?
on social
Social
media,
media.
yeah, on
Yeah.
Facebook because they kept putting stories, and I would read every story that came through. It does influence you when you hear people
Absolutely.
talking about such wonderful things, and how the midwives were like just like sisters and so nice. And then finally, when I had my first appointment, an online appointment with my midwife, also, I was just like, wow, she's so lovely. Talking to her, my husband also just loved talking to her. It's like so knowledgeable and would kind of put your mind at ease. And I was like, this is how it's going to be. This is wonderful. So then I just had told my family, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to birth village and give birth. And my mom, who's always been like super supportive of anything I do,
Wow.
was just like, yeah, yeah, let's go. It'll be so much fun. We can explore Kerala and
That's
have a great time.
incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible for her to just say, "Oh, go, change city and have birth." Yeah,
Yeah, no, she was like, she wanted to come with me, no? So that's the thing. It was like a girl thing to do, like, we
yeah,
go, go chill and we relax, have a great time. My sister who's in the US, I'll also come and then we'll just have a great time in a different city. So that's what we
yeah,
did. It was just like a few weeks of before the birth, that is, of just like shopping and eating and getting like massages and having a big holiday. It was wonderful.
yeah. And was that midwifery care, speaking to the midwife, different from how you spoke to the doctor at your prenatal care with the
Of
doctor?
course, yeah. Because the prenatal care with the doctor is what, like 5 minutes? That's it,
Mm.
right? Doctor sees you, doesn't even touch you. Like she just
Mm.
looks at you. Her reference point with regards to your pregnancy is just the scans, right? She look at the
Yeah.
scan, da da da, okay, everything's fine, go. And then you're just like, anything else you want to say to me?
Yeah, and maybe we start then referencing our own pregnancy from those tests. That
Yeah,
if the test is okay, I'm okay. If there's a breach
yeah,
at sometime early in the pregnancy, then that's a problem. So
yeah,
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 that's just a mindset we develop also in pregnancy.
yeah,
That kind of a
correct.
care.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
and again, it's all what the media tells you, right? Like when you watch a movie, people are just having like ultrasound after ultrasound. You think that is just the norm, and ultrasounds are like this holy grail of information, and it's not. It is so inaccurate, and people don't know. They make,
yeah,
and it's scary because people make decisions off of it where the ultrasound says something and they terminate pregnancies. So maybe a baby they really even really wanted, and maybe that baby could have been fine. Who knows? We've heard so many stories of people going ahead with pregnancies where the ultrasound has said something is wrong and the baby is absolutely fine.
yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that responsibility lies with the system. When the system
Yeah,
relies heavily on ultrasounds and they are
yeah,
deciding your fate on ultrasound,
yeah,
sometimes you're told whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to support it because I see that there's a problem.
yeah,
I suppose that's also the case. So it's really upon the system that kind of propagates ultrasounds and then doesn't tell
yeah.
you how inaccurate they
Yeah.
are.
And even now, it's really strange because you know that apart from ultrasound, there are more accurate ways to know if the baby is okay or not by doing these blood tests. Like
Right,
I've seen women who go to do the ultrasound, something is wrong, and then they're made to do these blood tests, and everything is fine. I'm like, why
right.
didn't you just do the blood test in the first place? Why
Yeah.
even do an ultrasound which is so inaccurate? And even now, people are saying that there's such less research on the harms of ultrasound. Like,
Yes.
people actually having done things on that.
Yeah.
So babies move and kind of shrug away from those waves, which means that in some way you're even harming your baby by doing an
Yes,
ultrasound.
yes. In a lot of ultrasounds, the babies would be looking elsewhere, and that's
Yeah,
one of the things that we hardly notice.
yeah,
And yes, the
yeah,
farmer will never ever fund those researchers that tell
correct.
you
Yeah,
that it's not working. So how was yeah with your midwife? You were telling that your mom was very excited, your sister was
yeah.
excited, so you guys
No,
went. And how
yeah.
was your husband's reaction? He
He
was
was also very supportive. I mean,
wow.
he's also quite alternative in his thinking. So he was also very supportive of my decision to go and birth in Kochi. Obviously, it's my body, and so he's not the type who would kind of like like steamroll over me.
Yeah,
He was like, okay, fine, let's figure this out. And since my mother was coming, it was also peaceful. That he could obviously he couldn't take the time off such long. He had to go to work,
yes.
so it was obviously great that my mom could come with me, be so supportive. The whole family was supportive of that,
That's good.
because they kind of read up about birth village. They just didn't dismiss it. They also read up about it. They also saw the face that was kind of hemming it, and they kind of were quite confident. Okay, she's a midwife trained in the U.S. A lot of good credentials. So everything was fine. And since I was low risk, also they
Yeah.
were not.
Bothered. Yeah. So when was it?
So
Which week did you go to birth village, or did
around
your prenatals and did your prenatals begin before that with them?
Well, I just had online appointments with them where I would talk about how I felt and also send them my scans, whatever scan I would. The usual scans, right? You have your NT scan and then your
Hmm.
normal scan, those two scans, and any blood tests and stuff like that, which I would send to them, and then they would just look online and then respond to me when things off. But nothing was off, so it's all okay. And my real face-to-face prenatals happened only once I moved there. So
Hmm.
once I moved there post 36 weeks, something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
So then I had weekly appointments with them at the birth village itself. It was
Okay.
great. It was great fun. I would always look forward to going and talking to them and laughing. And my mom would come along also, and she also loved the midwives there. So she also had a great time uh,
Yeah.
chit chatting with them. So yeah,
Did they do birth classes with you once you
yes,
moved,
I
or
yeah no, I did birth classes here in Bangalore.
in Bangalore? Okay.
Yeah. I did
And you
birth
did it
classes
with them?
with Reba,
It's
who
Reba. Yeah,
at
I was
that
about to
point,
say.
yeah,
I was
yeah, I
about to say,
did,
was it Reba? Yeah.
yeah, I did birth
Yeah.
classes with Reba here. They had their group birth class
Hmm.
sessions. So me and my
Yeah.
husband, I remember going, and my husband was like so excited. He had a little notepad and he was taking notes and cross questioning. It was great. It was good fun going through all that.
Yeah. And the community experience at the end of the day, that
Yeah,
also
exactly.
with
Going
everybody.
there,
Yeah.
sitting with people,
Yeah.
going through who are also going through the same thing as you. So it's nice. It was good fun.
Yeah. And then how did your labor kind of began the first time around?
So what happened was around 38 weeks in, my water broke. Okay. I
Okay.
was getting up in the morning to do something, water broke, and I was so excited. I was like, yeah, 38 weeks. Baby was fine. We're doing checks and everything. So we all know the baby's okay or everything is good. So I thought, okay, labor's gonna start. Called my husband. I was like, maybe it might happen. Why don't you come tomorrow? Because it could happen anytime. So then I woke up, I told my mom, and started waiting, for things to happen.
Yeah.
And
And you were
nothing happened.
excited. And you were
Yeah, I
excited,
was
Nisha.
so excited. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
against somebody going to a regular system, they would be scared. My water has broken now. What do I do? So you were taught all of that in birth classes. You
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
kind of, yeah,
Yes. Yes. I knew. And also, I was 38 weeks. I'd probably be very worried if I was like 24 weeks. So 36 weeks, I would
yeah.
also be like, you know, my baby,
Mm,
okay, why is she or he coming in so soon? But since
yeah.
I was 38 weeks, I was kind of like, knew that it was fine.
Yeah.
But the kicker in the story is that nothing happened for 2 weeks after that.
Oh,
Again, if
my.
it was any
Yeah.
other institution, I would have been induced, you know, frightened,
Com-
induced, and all of that. But because I was with Birth Village, we kind of spoke through it, knew everything was fine with me, and did daily CTGs to kind of make sure the
Hmm.
baby's health was okay. And I started taking antibiotics from day
Mm-hmm.
one, from the when the water
Mm-hmm.
broke, to just
Hmm.
make sure that I didn't get an infection.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's what we did. Every day I would just wear big diapers and just like water would just keep coming out every day. And I would just keep replenishing and I remember I went for a biophysical scan at that
Mm-hmm.
point, make sure everything is okay, and the BPD, I mean, and my amniotic fluid level, the AFI, was 2.
Oh,
Okay, it was
yeah.
2, and any other place I know they would have been like 2. Oh my god, like
Emergency. Yeah.
emergency, but they were like
Let's do yeah.
they by the birth rate, they were like,
Mm.
it's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. The baby, every other parameter of the baby was fine. Yeah. So they were like, she or he
So
was
there
doing
wasn't
okay.
a perceived emergency. Everything was done to ensure to understand if things are right, not just one parameter, but all the parameters. That's how care
Correct.
should look
All of
like
that.
for women. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I just waited and waited and waited and waited and nothing happened. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, they were like, just chill out, do things, don't think too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
So during that, I would just again like put a pad on and just go watch a movie, go to the beach, just do like things, or go shopping, whatever, just to get my mind off of it. But in hindsight, I know I shouldn't have done that. It's all
Yeah.
hindsight, but I'll
Yeah.
just telling you what happened then. On
Mm-hmm.
hindsight, I can say many things, but that point, that's what we felt was right. So I did all of that, and then never went into labor. I mean, I would be in prodromal labor for the longest time, like every night. But throughout this time, my stomach was like tight and loose, like throughout.
Mm.
It was
Yeah.
just
So
so
there
I knew
were
something going
milder
on. Yeah,
contractions, yeah,
yeah.
but not
But like,
really something you could
yeah,
feel like contractions. But there was, you
yeah,
could feel the uterus
yeah,
contracting and expanding. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I could never feel anything beyond that. I would tell my mom, rock hard, not her. Rock hard. Like my stomach would become rock hard and then not rock hard anymore. So, at that point, being the first time experience of that happening, like what's going on? Like, and like one day I remember actually I could feel something like contraction. It just went away, never came back. So
Hmm.
then when I crossed 40 weeks, I remember my midwife was like, I think now just to make sure everything is fine, we should try some natural induction methods.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, let's try as the first thing to do, let's do castor oil and
Hmm.
see how that goes.
Hmm.
So then we did castor
Hmm.
oil. And you know how castor oil is. You're just like pooping and throwing up and it's like horrible.
That's what it
It's
does.
just horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
And
an
then
equivalent to milk and ghee that traditionally is given. Milk and ghee
just
to the
milk
women.
and ghee would probably taste
Yeah.
better. Castor oil and orange juice is just like sick. Like the worst thing you can have. But what to do? Did it,
Hmm.
and it was horrible. And then that night, I felt things kind of kick off. Contractions come in and go at night, and again, mistake I did was call in and say that contractions have started.
Ah. There was still time.
Probably, yeah, there was a lot of time. It probably would have gone off also, actually, if I think about it now. But
Hmm.
I told them that contractions have started. And so they were like, come if you're too scared to, if you think that things will just progress quickly at home and if you don't get a Uber or something to get to the center,
Hmm.
you can come now and go through the contractions here. I
Hmm.
was like, okay, great, I do that. And my mom also was like, let's do that. What if we don't get a mode of transport in the middle of the night?
Hmm.
And by this time, my husband Omar had gone back. He's like, I'm not waiting any longer. I was like, oh, you just tell me when things really happen. So I left, and he left. And so just me and my mom again. And she was also like, what is he? Don't find transportation. So we better get there.
Yeah.
So got there, and lo and behold, they did a pelvic exam, and I was like 4 centimeters diameter at that point.
Hmm.
And I went there, and she's like, "Okay, fine, you go to sleep. Let's see if something happens." And then it just kind of went away. It didn't kind
Hmm.
of. And I remember them picking it. I remember them waking me up and saying that I think try doing, don't sleep. Don't sleep. Try doing some activity to kind of get
Okay.
things going again.
And you
So
felt
half
like
asleep.
sleeping? Did you feel like sleeping?
Yeah, I was sleeping. I was woken up.
Okay.
So I was woken up, and they were like, let's try to get something done. And I was getting up and I was doing some exercises. And then they started giving me drips, saying that, you're very low on fluids. So let's
Hmm.
get some water going through your system. And, maybe that would help
Hmm.
things progress. So then I did that. And then slowly things started progressing and it became intense, very intense. Like, because I remember at one point I was in the bathroom, and you know how intense it can be when you're in the
Yeah.
bathroom. The spot can be very intense, and then it was just chaotic because I just remember being all over that room, being here, being there. I was so sleepy. I just wanted to sleep, but I couldn't. So I was just like being dragged around the room. I was at one point on the stairs doing something, and then it was just like Project Get the Baby Out, you know.
Out.
It was
Yeah.
like
That's what
that.
you told me. Now I understand when you say that, that it was managed. It was still managed. You could have slept, woken up, and still have had contractions started because your body needed sleep. That's
Yeah,
what you felt. And you could have
yeah,
woken up and with more body energy
yeah.
and maybe some food to eat, some juices to drink. And yeah.
I mean, I was eating and drinking and all of that stuff, but I don't know. Maybe it did not help. Maybe my body was just not ready. So,
Possible.
um,
Yeah.
so it was all of that. And I remember at one point, because I got in there at midnight the previous night, and the next day, around 11 o'clock, people have come for their appointments and everything. And it's a house. Now, Birth Village obviously is very fancy,
Hmm.
it's huge. At that point, it was just a house. So, people were coming for appointments, and they could see me, walking around. I could see them. Imagine how distracting. It was horrible. But I was just like, I don't want people to see me in this situation. In
Yeah.
this, I mean, it's very distracting. And yeah, it was just the midwives talking, kacha, 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 something. I could feel like they were discussing things about me. And then I remember at one point, the midwife telling me, how long are you going to be here? You know,
Oh my
things like
God.
that.
That's
So it
horrible.
was just
I'm sorry, that's horrible. I don't
yeah, it was
expect
just,
that
and
from a birth
I'm
center.
also like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. Like, what do you want me to say? And they were like,
Yeah.
is it time? Do you think feel like pushing? You feel like pushing? I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, what do you mean? Like, push? I don't understand what you're saying. Right now, I'm having
Yeah.
contractions, but what are you saying to me? I don't follow. It was just like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I remember at one point, they were doing pelvic exams throughout, right? And
Throughout.
extremely painful pelvic exams. Like I
Yeah.
don't even know. I
They are
can't say, but
painful. Yeah.
I know they were
They're bad.
happening. I don't know how the frequency of how often they were happening, but they were happening at certain different points. I remember at one point she checked and she was like, "I think you're 10 centimeters diameter is time to push." And I was like, "Acha, you're time to push."
But that's not a
God, then
standard. It's not necessary you're 10 centimeters and ready to be asked to push. Your body should tell
yeah,
you.
yeah.
That's,
So
yeah.
I was just like, "ठीक है, let me push." I remember like trying to push, and then I remember one of the midwives was like, you can't push like that. You have to push like you're pooping. And I was just like, okay, madam, since you have
Mm.
scolded me into it, like you're basically scolded, right? Because you're
Yeah.
not pushing the
Yeah.
right way. So
Hmm.
then finally, I pushed. And he was out. And again, pushing also was like squat, push, and then get on the bed, or get on all fours and push, and then finally he came out. I was like, oh, thank
You were
God
rushed
this is
through.
done. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, thank God it's done. I'm like, for me, it was rather going through that pain.
Yeah.
Thank God
Get
someone
done with
helped me
it.
get this baby out. So that time I was very thankful. I was just like,
And
wow,
were your, I'm sorry to ask, because were your contractions regular? Was there, were they
it was
irregular? I
one on
ask,
top of the other.
I don't know why I feel. Were you augmented through that drip?
There could be, it could be. I'm not going to say anything, but
Because
it
yeah,
could be,
all of a sudden
you
you
know.
have contractions. They're on top of each other. That's not how
And
natural.
especially it happened after my drips were put on,
Yeah,
which is supposedly fluids. But I don't want to at the same time discourage people from going to birth village because
absolutely.
it's,
Yeah,
it's better than going to hospital. So, and my experience is not everyone's experience. Everyone cannot do it.
absolutely.
I don't want, and
Yeah.
as I'm saying, it's choosing hospital over birth village. Obviously, go to birth
Yeah, and then ask questions. If you're given a drip, you can definitely ask. Does it have
and
augmentation in
definitely
it?
have a doula. Don't
Yeah, you
think
said that.
that your midwife is your doula. She's not. She's a midwife. So if you're going in there, don't go in fully trusting. Get a doula. Someone to be on your side. I
You
would
mean
say
someone that you take with you who knows you and is with
yeah,
you and is not a part of that center.
exactly. I think that goes for any place, according
Yeah.
to me. The hospital, you're going anywhere, you need to have an advocate. When your husband is great, but he doesn't know, he's not a woman, he doesn't have a vagina, he doesn't have a uterus, so he has no clue. And yeah, and I know there are a lot of doulas now in the world who have not given birth, but I would say, as my preference, always go with someone who has given birth. You know,
Hmm.
so they know what what you're going through and have some kind
Empathetically.
of point of reference.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Also more empathetic because they know, they feel, they.
No, but once a baby was born, I mean, he was fine, and postpartum care with them was really wonderful. I mean, they would come and check up, and we had a nice bath, the food they gave him was
Wow.
really nice, and so it's wonderful after that. My mom was there, and the next day we left.
Yeah.
So that way it
You
was.
you did say that you were joyous back then. Despite all of that, you were joyous
Yeah,
because you
of
probably kind
course.
of thought that this is how it should be. Before you, the second time
Yeah,
around, you
yeah,
realized, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because you think this is how it is. The baby's born and everyone's so happy, and
Yeah.
you're just like, you're done with this. You don't think about what you've gone through. It takes some time, for you to kind of ruminate on your experience. But at that point, it's just like, is my baby okay? Am I? Then you get on to the next thing. I'm going to breastfeed. So then you concentrate on that. So
Right.
your birth experience is kind of put on the shelf. But then at that point, I thought I had a wonderful birth experience.
Yeah, much better than
So
probably people around you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also thankful because my water had broken. I was telling you, right, 2 weeks, but I was not forced into doing any kind of augmentation at that point.
Intervention. Yeah.
Intervention.
And
So yeah,
Nisha, maybe I'm interrupting you here. Would you
sure.
like to tell us about whether there was a tear or was there any
Huh.
kind of stitching, etc.?
Yes, yes. I had I think 2 stitches done.
Okay.
So yeah, so they gave me an anesthetic, a local anesthetic, and I had 2 stitches done.
Okay.
And even at that point, my placenta also just kind of. I remember them telling me, okay, it's white, the cord is white, it's fine now. I
Hmm.
think we can cut. And I was like, yeah, yes, we will have to. And then they
Hmm.
cut it, and I remember the placenta just coming whoop out, and can't remember if that augmented again at that point, or if the placenta just came out so fast. Just
Hmm.
came, just tugged on it and we got it out. That
Hmm.
was fine.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was my experience. And as I was saying, postpartum care was really nice. And again, because I had my mum with me, so it was like a real walk in the park. We went back to the place where we were staying, and breastfeeding also happened. Initially, like we all do, sore nipples happen for the first 2 weeks. That kind of
Yeah.
sorted itself out.
Okay. Yeah. And was there any kind of an injection, vitamin K or anything that they gave to the baby then?
I remember they came and they asked me, "You want to give vitamin K shot to the baby?" I
They
said,
asked you. That's a good
"Fine."
thing. Yeah.
They asked, they asked if you want to do it. I said, "You can do it." So they did that. And that's about it. I didn't do any vaccinations at that point. They did it to me after 2 weeks.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. But it was an informed thing. You were told, you were
Yes.
asked, which is a good thing. And
Yeah.
then from there on, the second time around. So you had a
Yeah.
good
So
birth.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the second
Yeah.
time around, how did you come across?
So second time around, we were all in that COVID haze. So it was
Hmm.
just like, where are we going to give birth now? And at this point, there were some birth centers that are opened in Bangalore. There was birth home, which I went to first, and then they had some problem. They had to stop doing births.
Hmm.
So then I was just like, where do I go now? And I was like, okay, should I go back to birth village? Like, is that the only option I have? So then I started speaking again to birth village people. Saying that I have to come, and I even paid them in advance. But I thought like, okay, this time I would do things differently, and I would,
Oh.
you know, have a birth plan, and just be a little more informed and grow the doula and all of those things.
Hmm.
So I decided I would do that. So that was fine. I mean, I was just waiting for time to go. And then in the middle, I realized that after my anomaly scan, I started looking at, I don't know, somehow I got sucked into this free birthers world, on Instagram, where I would see people just giving birth at home without any help. And it was just like, wow, how are they doing this? And then I started listening to their birth stories. I listened to all the birth stories on the Free Birth podcast, which is around more than 200 stories. And I
Yeah, they
would
have a
just
lot.
listen to them every night. I used to go sleep and listen. I used to remember I'd be listening to them and I'd just be crying sometimes or I'd be laughing
Oh,
because the
yeah,
stories would be, you know,
yeah.
so
Empowering in their own
yeah,
way.
empowering, in their own way, and some of these women whose lives would have been like changed by what happened. It was like so simple, like and stories can be so healing, and through the stories I realized what happened to me in the first birth. So much of it was not right. Through the stories I found, you know, and
Ah,
I was just like, oh my god, that was not okay. This was not okay. How could they
yeah,
do this? How could they do
yeah.
that? And
Including
I
your
heard it.
labors, yeah, your
Yeah,
labor
yeah,
stalling in the
yeah.
center, then it was pretty fine at home. But when we went there, they stopped. Your labor kind of stopped there. Yeah,
And, kind of understanding about our human nature, and who we really are, and how as women how we are, and how as individuals how we are, can also affect the process.
right.
As a
Definitely.
person, how I am, how am I brought up? Am I a shy person? Do I feel comfortable changing in front of a random person? No, I don't. I know some women are very comfortable with other women. They would take their tops off or clothes off. That's them, That's how they've been brought up. But I'm not that kind of person. Like I would be shy in a gym locker room. I would just be like covering the towel and all that, right? How
Yeah.
did I expect myself to be so comfortable in a strange place giving birth? That's again,
Yeah.
who am I as a person?
Yeah, you
So I
got
think
those
that plays a very
answers.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so then I just decided that I need to find another way of doing this.
Hmm.
So I then spoke to Reba. I mean, at that point, I was quite friendly with her. So I would just call and bounce off my thoughts with her, and just be like, I don't know, man, I just don't feel like going anywhere. I just want to be at home and I just don't want to get out of my safe space. And I know things are not going to work out if I leave home. So she's like, then, find another place here, see what can be done. So then
Hmm.
I was okay, maybe I can keep Astrika as a backup. So then Astrika had come. So I called them and I went and spoke to them. But they were also like, showed me their very fancy digs. So I was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow, this is like a five-star hotel. So maybe I could give birth here. So then and that's at that time because of COVID, Reba was not allowed in all these hospitals because she was unvaccinated.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and so she's like, I'm not vaccinated, so I can't go to many hospitals in Bangalore. I was
Yeah.
like, ugh. So then I had to find another doula, and then I found someone who was also very lovely. Um, and then decided, I will use her if in case I'm going to be working with Astrid.
Hmm.
And midway, I realized that I'm not going to be going out of my house. I'm going to
You
just
had
do
a
this now.
feeling. You
Yeah,
just
I was just
knew.
like, I'm not gonna go. Like, how stupid! I've listened to so many podcasts with so many women. What's wrong with me? Like, I'm just as capable. Like, I can do this. I mean, I have no health fears or nothing of that sort. My BP is fine. My sugar is under control. I'm very active. So it was just like, I'm just gonna do this at home. And I spoke to Reba and I said, I'm just gonna do this at home. Just and she was like, I knew you were going to say this.
Mm.
So like then finally I spoke to this other doula who I was with. I was like, I'm going to do it at home. If you want to support me with this, then great. And she was not very comfortable with home births
Mhm.
at that point. So she told me very honestly, she's like, I'm not comfortable with that. So I said, okay, chalo, okay, fine. If that's how you feel, it's great. I mean, good that you're upfront with me, rather than
That's,
saying
yeah,
okay
that's
and
very
then something.
important. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very
so
important to be clear about where you stand at that point in time.
exactly. Yeah. So I was like, okay. I spoke to Reba and I was like, come on, man, you have to be with me on this. I want to do it at home. And then she was like, see, I'm not a midwife. I cannot do any of these medical things. I can just be with you. I said, it's perfect. I just want someone who would be with me as a sister, as like this
Mhm.
another woman in the room, and that's it. I said, I'll take care
Mhm.
of everything. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of all the stuff I would need for the birth and
Mhm.
whatever. So I said, you just have to come on the day and just like hold my hand or whatever, help me clean up, things like that.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, let's do this, let's go for it. And then that was
Lovely.
settled, and then I just went on to enjoying my pregnancy. I didn't go to a
Did
doctor
you
anymore.
take any supplements this time around? Um,
I didn't take anything actually. I didn't take iron also because I didn't take it.
yeah.
I didn't take any supplements. Oh yeah, I took chlorophyll.
Okay.
Every day I would take chlorophyll to make sure that my blood hemoglobin levels were good. So that was the
Hmm.
only thing I took.
Hmm. Yeah.
I would just eat healthy, and at that point I remember I'm a non-vegetarian, so I would crave steak, like bloody steak, and I would just give into
Hmm.
it. And it's so strange. Like other women I know also who are non-vegetarian, they were like, "Oh my God, red meat! We see it, we
Hmm.
sniff it."
So
It's
it's our
just that,
bodies telling us what they want to,
yeah.
keeping
And
the
because red
standards
meat is
aside.
so nutritious, in the
It
sense
is
that it's the most bioavailable nutrition, not only
biodiverse.
protein,
Yes. Yeah.
but everything has.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would just eat healthy and then just be active and get massages and do biodynamic craniofacial therapies
Hmm.
and just chill out really, not do much, just work out and
And Nisha,
then
that I'm interrupting, but that confidence
sure,
this time also came around because you had already given birth once.
sure,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that could
correct.
have also been the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to add
So,
to
but
it, of
then,
course.
yeah, and also this time I was very afraid that I would again, like the water would break
Hmm.
at 38 weeks. So I remember what I did was one thing which I did was I wrote a birth visualization. Okay. So I wrote
Wonderful.
like a story of how I thought my birth. So like how you read your affirmations, like as if
Hmm.
something has already happened. So I wrote it
Hmm.
like that. So I was
Hmm.
like, this, how my water will break. I said my water breaks just before I give birth,
Active
post 40
labor.
weeks.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I've written everything exactly like how I wanted it. Just very, I even started off saying it's a nice, beautiful, sunny day, So to kind of put everything into a very happy picture. So I did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I told Reba also when I did done that, and she was like, great. And after that, when I went into labor, I mean, my water didn't break till 42 weeks, and that was,
Yeah.
it didn't break. And it was a nice sunny day, when I went
It
into labor
works.
at 6. It works. Manifestations work. Yeah.
And plus, with pregnancy, you are not here. I definitely think so. Even during my pregnancy, it was a different zone I was in. When I came
Mm,
down from there, and I would say down because I constantly felt I was somewhere higher during the
mm,
pregnancy. And then after birth, I came down. And it's a
right.
different world. So the powers of manifestation that women especially have, they definitely are
Yeah.
higher in pregnancy. Use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, I mean, as you were saying, I was obviously I'd gone through I'd gone through labor before,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I even wrote that my contractions would not be as bad as last time. Surgeries would be easy, and then I'd written about SER that I written everything, that I wouldn't push all of that,
Hmm.
and it went on to be that way. So
Amazing.
it was exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was which week that you went into labor?
So I was 42 weeks
42.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, 42
Yeah.
plus 1, something like that. But I
Yeah. And
completed
there
42 weeks.
yeah, and there were no scans, nothing required.
Nothing I've done. I
And
didn't
this
do
time
any
around,
scans.
Yeah, you went to some doctor this time around.
I told you
How
I
are the
went to
prenatals?
Africa. I
Ask.
did. I just went to Africa once and there were prenatals.
Hmm.
No prenatals because I just went one time to them because I had to show my face. No, I can't just
Yeah,
like
and
directly come
register.
and
And
yeah.
register. That's also the case. If you don't register in India, they might not take you during labor.
Mm.
Although there's a law around it, but they might not
So
take you if you're not registered. So that's there.
so I went once and she always checked me at the time and she said, "Oh, baby is turned and all that." And then, and that's about it. And then I came back home and went through everything on my own. And I also did one session with a couple of sessions with with actually my doula had suggested me to go to another midwife.
Hmm.
So Tapasya, and so
Yeah.
then she told me that you go there, and since she supports women out of the
Home
system
birth.
births.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I was like, great. I know at that point I did not need to do birth education because I already know enough about that. So I just want to know about homeopathics, and my
Hmm.
husband wanted to know about emergencies.
Yeah.
So we
That's
both did
important.
those.
Yeah.
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 So we did those sessions with her for those
Did you
2 months.
use
So
any of that? Any of those?
homeopathics, yes.
Yeah.
I had my hospital bag, my birth bag had had all the homeopathics, and I had like a chart, and I written down what is for what, so
Hmm.
that my husband and Reba both would be aware of what to give me in any of those situations,
Yeah.
and that's it. And then that's about it. That's only prenatals I kind of did.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And then you went into
and
labor at 40,
then
42 plus.
yes, I did last on 28th November in the morning when I was hugging my son and sleeping. I felt like the first, that wave.
Jolt,
And I was
maybe, a
just like,
wave.
whoa. I went to the bathroom and then I realized that I started losing my mucus plug.
Hmm.
Just like so excited. Husband, that things could be happening,
Yeah.
finally. So then, yeah, I mean, the entire day I kind of just cooped up in my room, you know, didn't do things to get my mind off labor,
Ah,
but my mind into labor,
yeah.
um, you know, and did not watch TV or any of that stuff. I just kind of, I know some people do that and they're fine with it, but for me, I know the kind of person I am. I have to get into myself.
Yeah.
So I just stayed in the room, listening to music, and just like, just being in touch with my body, eating good food and coconut water, getting my room prepped up for the night, things like that.
And how did contractions feel during that first 10 hours, maybe?
Like very, very manageable. The surge, each surge was very manageable. It was obviously intense, but it was expected. Like your body is doing something. So I was
Yeah.
like meeting each one of them.
Yeah, letting it come through you rather than
Yeah, yeah,
ignoring it or trying
exactly.
to push it away. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I was just in bed. I did not do squats and do like any kind of stunt. At that point, I was like, I'm not gonna.
Like
Yeah, I'm not gonna do like high knee raises and all of that stuff. I'm just gonna
lunges.
chill, lunges,
Yeah.
and like it's fine. I know she'd be a girl, but she's fine. She'll be
Yeah.
born. So, so yeah, and I knew because I tell you why. Because I had morning sickness towards the end of my pregnancy. I didn't have in
Hmm.
the beginning. Towards
Hmm.
my last trimester, every morning I would throw up and I was like, something is different, because for my son, I never had any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was very, very peaceful contraction. Then I spoke to Reba and I was like, something is happening, but it will not be now. I told her, you come around, come evening around 6:30,
Hmm.
no problem. Was eating. I ate biryani for lunch. Chilled
Wow.
and relaxed, and When Reba came, I opened the door and then she looked at my face and she said, it's gonna happen soon just by looking at my face. So yeah, I mean, when she took out her crystals and she put it on the table, and my mum is sitting with her those beads, those prayer beads, just holding and trying to look very cool, but I know inside she was probably like, oh, hope everything goes okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like that, and yeah, I mean, my husband, and then when night came, off all the lights. I just put candles in. There was just one candle in my room, one candle in the bathroom. Both were on. I would just kind of flit from one to the other, going through things. And
Your
I
son
remember
had
finally
slept.
around. My son was in my in-laws' place.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
they live very close by, so
Okay.
he was there.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember at one point, maybe around 8:30, poor guy had come and he was on the door, Mama, Mama.
I miss you.
It was like, and then my mom was there, so she took him in, made him sleep.
Mm,
And he was in the
yeah.
other room, he was sleeping again. And I was just like going through everything. At one point, I remember I told Reba, okay, fine, I just need to be in the room now. I'm not going to walk around. I'm just going to be in the room now. I went to the room, I closed the door, do not disturb the mom and my husband who were outside. And I remember at one point I was like, just turn off that stupid music. I don't want to listen to that also. The
Yeah.
music also was like, it was going on for a long time. At one point I was like, just turn it off. I don't want this guy. So she turned it off. And then I was just with her and I would just be like, she was just with me, she was just with me. And I remember telling her massage and she would massage. And otherwise she would just be like, just not doing anything, just
Yeah.
being with
Giving you your space and letting you
me.
decide when you want
Yeah,
her to intervene or not.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point, like, because I'm getting up and down and just like, going through things. And I remember at one point I was like holding the corner. Every contraction would come, I would hold the corner of the bed and I would just like jerk my body, like
Mm.
just hold, just that. And then
That felt
she was
better.
like, yeah, yeah, just go for it,
Go for
like
yeah.
twerk, come on, you
Be your
can do it, just
sensual
yeah.
best. Yeah.
And I was banging my knees and like total primal, because you just do what you have to do without thinking about where you are. Because you're at your home. So why would you even be conscious about doing what you
Yeah.
feel like doing at that time? So yeah, and I remember then Reba telling me, you have to give permission for your water bag to break. You have told the water bag not to
Ah.
break for so
And Reba
long,
is
but
good
she's
at
told.
this. Yeah, I think she just knows when to say what. Yeah.
Yeah, so she told me that. She's like, you have to give your water bag permission to break. So I was like, okay, fine. I was like, water bag! Come on! Break! And then
Yeah.
it broke, so crazy. It just broke. And then I
Amazing.
remember,
So love
and
it.
yeah, and I remember like because there was no light, so she had a phone torch, and she's like, something coming out from water. I was like, it could be pee, Reba. So she's like, definitely not pee. After checking. So I was like, thank
Yeah.
goodness, okay, that's good news.
Yeah.
And then there was one more, and then I took rest, and then the other contraction came, and I just again did the same thing, a lot of like working. Then I suddenly just stopped, and I was like, this the most amazing feeling kind of took over where I could just feel my baby coming through my body. Like I could feel it,
Ah.
like just like very like a sanguine, like a snake like.
Yeah, Sarah said that too in the previous recording that it was like a snake rushing through me. Even
Yeah.
she described the contractions as such through her body.
Yeah, yeah, you could feel, and then I just told Reba, she's coming, she's coming. And then I went down on the bed, on the floor, which I placed a bed on the floor. So I went into that in a runner's lunge,
Hmm.
and I think Reba just like, she's like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to catch the baby or you want to do it? Because I'd written in my birth visualization that I would catch the baby.
Yeah.
So she asked me. I was like, I said, what you can do. And we both are having a very normal conversation at this point. So I'm telling her, what you can do is you catch the baby and you put her on the floor. Just catch her and put her on the floor. That's it. So she said, how? So she just said, next contraction come, just breathe. That's enough. So it came, and poof, she came flying out with one arm like that, and then cord around, and like another one around her armpit,
Wow.
and again around her neck. So then she came out, and I was like, took it all out
Very
myself,
thoughtful.
you know.
Yeah, she was in a deep thought.
Yeah, yeah. And that's probably why I think she would took longer to come out. Otherwise, she would probably have come early. So I kind of unraveled everything, and I was just like, oh my god! And I remember this. I mean, finding and knowing that she's a girl, and finding out she was a girl, that was like the best part. It's like it's a girl, you know. Throughout, I
I knew
knew that she
it.
would be a girl, but
Wow.
finding out and just looking at Reba and just being like, we did it, you know, we did it. I know all that planning and it's happened, and she's fine, and she looks great, and she cried immediately. It was just like I just kind of held her with one hand. Then we took some photos, you know. I was just like, please take some photos before this moment passes. And such dim lighting. We took some photos, but they don't look great. But it was also great,
Yeah. Your
if you know
your
what I
own
mean.
movement. Yeah. Maybe not
Yeah,
Insta worthy, but your own
yeah,
movement.
yeah.
Yeah. And how did
So
you
yeah.
feel, Nisha? Would you describe that feeling when she came out? How did you feel right there and
Oh
then?
my God, it was like so. You feel so powerful and so like feminine, and you feel like a you feel like a badass. You know, that's what you feel like. You feel like no one can mess with you. That's how you feel like. That's it. I mean, that's how
Lioness.
motherhood is supposed to be, right? Like, no
Yeah.
one should be able to mess with a mom, I feel, at any
Yeah.
stage of her life.
Definitely.
So, and my husband and my mom, they came in to see her and so thrilled that she was a girl, and my husband was so thrilled she was a girl. I think it was an hour since her birth when Reba was like, "Oh, do you want to try getting your placenta out? You want to try
Hmm.
doing that?" So I was like, "Ah, okay, let's do that now." So again, I sent everyone out of the room. I was like, "Get out, get out." And then
Hmm.
she was feeding, and I got up, went to the bathroom. I put a six bath in
Hmm.
my toilet,
Hmm.
sat on it, again
Hmm.
switched off all the lights, and I just put the candlelight was anyway burning in the bathroom. And then she was feeding, 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 and then I kind of like just like concentrated a little bit, and I think it just came out like with
Came
one
out.
whoosh
Yeah.
out. Like,
Did you
no
have?
problem.
Did you feel contractions when the placenta came out?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it was quite intense the after pain. Like
Hmm.
very
Yeah, the
intense.
uterus
Yeah,
going back, like
yeah,
ooh, like
yeah,
kneading the floor and going down.
yeah.
Yeah, that
It was very
sensation.
intense.
Yeah.
I just remember eating some really yum. Like my mom-in-law had come. She got some chicken. I mean, she didn't know, I was giving in birth there. So at home,
Oh,
so we called
oh,
up and we were
she
like,
didn't know you were giving birth
at home.
at home. Okay, she thought you were here
So
at Astrika.
she thought that think we would go to the hospital. So my
Eventually.
husband called her and told her that the baby's born. It's a girl. We're at home. So she was like, "What? Come and pick me up now!" So then she came home, and she also was like, her first thing that she said was, "Oh my God, the room is so clean." You know, everyone expects that you have a home bath. Your house is like a
Mess.
bed bath. But I mean, we planned for that, so it was pretty
Mm.
clean, easy to clean up.
Yeah, you spoke that
Everything
you
was just
had
bad.
all those
Yeah,
bags ready to
yeah,
clean everything.
ready.
You had planned everybody. Swish.
Yeah,
Nobody would know
yeah.
I birthed at home. It would
Yeah.
just be a news. Then CID will come and figure it out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was pretty. So that's what she said, like, wow, there's no mess, everything is fine. Yeah, everything is okay. And I'd one, I mean, it's so easy. I didn't have a bath or anything. I just kind of slipped back into bed with the baby, just like fed her, and I kept her connected with the placenta the entire night. I didn't
Hmm.
immediately cut,
Cut the cord. Hmm.
yeah, cut the cord. I waited till the next morning and then around was
And how
peaceful.
long was the labor?
The labor, if you, I mean, I gave birth at 11:04, 11:04. So my active labor was probably from 8 o'clock night,
Hmm. About, say, 4 hours, 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
I
it
mean,
started in the morning till 8. Yeah, pretty much 12 hours or so, approximately. Just want to say that because just to get this, clock ticking off women's head that if
yeah,
it's 4 hours, it's good. But if it takes 12 hours, something needs
yeah,
to be done. No, it
yeah,
can be a good, happy birth at with 12 hours also.
yeah. And again,
Yeah,
yeah, as you were saying, everybody's body is different. How your mother gives birth also plays. Like I had a friend who had a birth in like 2 hours, and her mother had a similar thing. So genetically also genes play a big part.
definitely. And so there's no standard, no normal standard of birthing. Your own.
And this
Yeah,
birth, I had no tears also. Because
that's crucial. Yeah.
that was like the previous birth, and stitches and everything was fine. I was not so, I was not hazy, after birth. I was very present.
And you were hazy during labor.
During this labor,
Yeah.
I was not
In
hazy. I was not hazy. I was very present.
my
Like
present.
through the contractions and everything, I was very present. I felt like I was going through it, coming back, going. You're in that space where you're just meeting the contractions, right? There's no space for anything else, kind of pain. I don't think I was hazy because I was telling you, right? Even towards the end, when the baby was born, I didn't need to push. I was very like aware. I was not like what's happening to me, what's happening to my body. It was not like that.
Hmm.
It was just like this is what's happening. This is what I'm going to do throughout.
You were swimming along
Yeah,
everything.
and being a decision maker, in my
Hmm.
own body for every
Control,
step I
in
take.
control. I think we can say that, and that's where we want women to be. Uh, Whatever the outcome is, in
Yeah,
control of where they are.
because you have no, you're not in control. Your body is in control. I feel. So,
Hmm.
like I was saying, like I mean, if I was anywhere else, someone else would have been in control of what I did at that point. For example, they would have made me do the lunges. They would have made me do some random shit like that. I mean, would I have worked? No, I would have felt so weird doing that anywhere else. I would have been so conscious. Like,
Yeah.
what would they think of me? I'm not going to be like half naked working. No way.
Classic difference
So,
between how your first one was born to how the
mm,
second one was born.
yeah,
Being told to
so.
do things than telling when and where you want help. And this time around, your mom was. Did she have some
Mm.
questions when you decided to home birth?
No, because I would talk about it all the time. It would just be like talking about the science of it and like showing her videos of people having home births. I was doing that same with my mom and my husband, like eating their, chewing the ears off about home birth, about
Hmm.
looking at women having home birth, and how actually this is the way it's supposed to be. So they
Hmm.
were on board, they were very supportive. My mom also was like, don't do anything. Just do what you have to do. Don't tell anyone now. You tell them if the baby's born, then you tell them, but don't tell them. Because people will project their fears onto you.
Yeah, and energy also.
Not because of any kind of ill feeling, but it's ignorance. They're also scared, so they will project that onto you, even if they don't. So,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
both me and my husband and my mom, three of us who knew about this, we did not tell anyone. We were like, okay, let's just keep it with us, keep it within ourselves sometime. Even my dad didn't know. My dad also was like, oh, what? Give birth? Oh.
Incredible. I love that. In so many ways, you're
Everyone was shocked.
protecting yourself, your energy, your choices. more than
Yeah.
anything. Is
Yeah, I
there
mean,
is
people ask me like, what if something had gone wrong? And I was just like, I would have gone to the hospital, man, like anything else. Like if something had gone wrong, and I live in an area in Bangalore where there are like some fine hospitals around. Like if I go down, there's Apollo, and there's another hospital. There's Cloud9, which is like 5 minutes away from me, and I'm just like, it's
And
fine.
you had you did tell me you had done that homework. So it wasn't that you had thrown emergency out of the window. You did think about it. You did plan accordingly. You did plan with homeopathy, with tapasya, all the medicines
Yeah,
about home
yeah,
birth and emergencies. And you
yeah,
knew pretty much everything to be
yeah,
empowered
yeah,
in your decision.
yeah. Yeah, correct. Because I mean, you have all these tools. It'd be foolish of me to go into it completely blind. I mean, some people do, and great. More power to them. But I just felt that I had to be fully responsible. If I'm taking responsibility of my birth, I have to be fully responsible for all kind of outcomes. Then life is unpredictable. Who knows what?
Definitely.
Suddenly, what
How
if I
would you
fainted or something? So you can't say.
definitely, and that could happen anywhere, right? Even in a hospital, you could faint. You could faint at
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
The chances at home are pretty less of things going wrong. But how would you?
That's,
This is she up?
no, no. It's my
Okay,
thing is beeping. It's running out of
okay.
charge.
Mine just came out of the room. So I wanted to ask you this. That's okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this. How would you tell someone who's expecting their first baby? Um, how would they go about taking decisions? Because there is a lack of awareness we see in here in India, even about birth education. You took that. I don't know.
Yeah.
You said you knew about all this. You did take informed choices even the first time around. But
Yeah.
I have seen in my practice that people are more scared with all this information online. They're scared,
Hmm.
and they sometimes also want to close themselves from, and they want to protect themselves from any kind of information that might jolt their existing perceptions.
Hmm.
So how would you tell? And then you're not opening yourself to choices. You might think you are, but you're not because you're not letting it unfold to you. And then, of course, sometimes that's also the thing. I'd be forced into taking decisions when you're already being
Hmm.
forced into taking decisions under the perception of safety by the system. So, what would you tell new first time mothers from your story? How should they go about? We don't tell
No
anybody
one.
how they should do things, but
Yeah.
maybe just as a
Yeah.
general, yeah.
It's a very good question actually because I've realized that as we were discussing before, no, like how a woman is her character, her personality, where she's from, her family, not plays a very big role as to her decision making.
Definitely.
And and some people have normalized certain aspects of birth itself, and it's very difficult for us to take their mind away. Their sisters, mothers have all had C-sections, so they also decided they're going to have C-section. They decided in themselves, my body is not capable. They've decided that my baby is too big, never can be born on its own through my vagina. So that's they decided, and that decision becomes fear. All of that happens. They don't realize that half of the stuff that their parents or sisters have all gone through is created by the hospital itself. So it's very difficult, to change. You can't change someone's mind because whenever you talk about something, it could come out as judgment. And I've
Definitely.
realized that it's only up to the person to go finding that information. XYZ, you cannot convince anyone to do anything. It has to come within themselves.
Mhm.
It has to come, for example, if you are a feminist, if you believe and I think even the word feminism is changing so much nowadays. Like if you see
Yeah,
even
from where it
online,
started. Yeah,
from where
from
it
where it
started,
started.
it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's
It was
becoming
very
more
wrong
about. Yeah, it's
where
not
it started.
equality with men. We're not
I can never
equal.
be equal. We are not equal
Yeah,
to
you
them.
can't. We're not equal to men. We have our
Mhm.
differences, and it's there for a reason. We have to find power in our feminine energy. It's you just you can't, and especially again, as I'm saying, if you are a feminist in this day and age, then you will realize, and if you want true autonomy, you will realize how patriarchal the system is. And if you know how patriarchal the system is, you know how patriarchal birth is, how patriarchal hospitals are. They just want a good girl going into the hospital, listening to the rules. And if you are a good girl in life, then that's what you'll go looking for. But if you're a rebel in life, then you'll obviously try doing things keeping you in mind, not the system in mind. And that's another thing I feel like so many women, they go to hundreds of yoga classes. They'll go for during pregnancy, they go for yoga and they'll go for yoga, mainly yoga. I've seen, they're like, I've started my yoga classes. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's my
great, you
preparation.
started your preparation is yoga class is great, but what about your mental preparation? And they'll be like, I've started hypnotherapy. And I don't know. Is it really teaching you to look within yourself or look outside and take yourself outside of it? So there are different questions that you really need to kind of ask yourself, I feel.
I
And
guess
again,
that's, yeah, you're right when you say, because I think that's where we do not know, or this is not being brought to the forefront. Wherever you decide to give birth, you and your baby are going to participate in it. So all
yeah,
the choices around it are going to
yeah,
affect that, your
yeah,
participation. So we decide, when we know where the participation will be hampered, then we decide
yeah.
for ourselves where it will be in its best performance, so to say.
But then again, I mean, as I was saying, I'm talking about like why do you see people in the West having more home
Hmm.
births? They are more developed, right, according to us.
Yeah.
All the
They
American,
went through that
but more.
curve
They've
of,
gone to that curve. Yeah, yeah. We are just behind, and now it's happening now. Women have gone to the curve. Now they are rebelling. Women are saying that no, this is my body. My baby will be born the way I see fit, and we know that physiological birth works.
better.
There's a reason why it works. Why it works better. And then people will say that before the hospitals came, babies were dying left, right, and center. Like what is happening? And I'm like, possibly that's true, but it's also because we didn't know how to use the technology. Right now, we have the technology to check
Right.
our BP, check to see if we have sugar. Great. If in case we have some complications, we can use the hospital. That is an improvement. But we don't need to use the hospital for every person.
Yeah.
That's
And we are not
that's the
talking
thing.
about morbidity.
Yeah,
Mortality is one, and compromising the health of the baby and the mother on a far larger scale than supporting the
yeah,
process and then
yeah.
decreasing mortality and intervening when an emergency is required. Yeah, that's the false safety net we've created.
False. But yeah, to answer your question, you really can't convince
Yeah,
me. Like tomorrow, if you know my sister or whatever wants to give birth, she's a scientist. She'd probably not listen to me, even though I'm her sister and had the experience. She
that's
would,
true.
go into the system. But probably she trusts them more. You can't really, you can't. It's, again, as I was saying, it depends on the kind of person you are. If you
Yeah,
look at people who are having home births in India right now, are all kind of rebels. They don't want to follow the system. I can, and in they're not Indian, they're American, European
yeah.
women here who are
Yeah,
having home
other
births.
countries. Yeah, because they've seen
Yeah,
that, and they're listening to those stories, which
yeah,
are there outside, and we have those stories at home. My maid
yeah,
had four birds at home. It's just that we've
yeah,
closed ourselves from people around us. Okay,
yeah,
she's okay. It doesn't matter to her probably. No, it matters to her. She's a woman. If her
yeah,
baby dies, but she's seen those births. Every second woman around her in the village is birthing at home, so she's not scared because
yeah,
she's seeing it. And that's the new normal, like you were saying, needs to be created. And it's not about home and hospital births. Of course, I would still be biased towards home births, but probably home births is not for certain people because of their life experiences.
correct.
XYZ, if they
Yes,
don't feel comfortable at home, then a birth center, maybe the middle ground.
yeah,
But then again, if we do not know what choices are there, how do we even look at those choices and weigh for
Yeah.
ourselves? That weighing is, yeah, required. Yeah, it will come. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nisha. It was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Love talking
Yeah.
about birds. So great.
Do that. Yeah. That's your Instagram handle that you've put up to talk about births and to
Yeah.
reduce the fear of
Yeah.
physiological birth. Yeah. More power to, more power to. Believe it or not, childbirth education is the foundation of your work towards your birth. And with midwifery training, I incorporate both the aspects of being a birth coach and midwifery care in my classes. Soon, the entire calendar of the monthly classes will be out on the website. Meanwhile, you can explore the various programs and contact me to enroll. Registrations for September childbirth classes are open. I have revived the pregnancy support groups which were happening around the Delhi, and now they will happen monthly in my area in Delhi. That is at my place, really, in Delhi. So, if you're interested to join in or inquire or be a part of this community group where we sit together, all pregnant women and new mothers, and we explore the various ideas of birth, of how other women's experiences have been. We share our little joys and problems and help each other just like a community. So, registrations for that are also open. You can sign in through the prenatal village form, which is there in the show notes, or you can directly contact me through the website www.birthagni.com. You can go to contact us, or you can directly go to book a free session and write there what you're inquiring for. If you are inquiring for the support group meetings, the prenatal village group meetings, then you can write that in the subject and we will get together and talk about it. Thank you so much. Until the next story. Thank you. There is a field beyond fear where the body is empowered to take on labor and birth. To land there, it is crucial to take birth education. To enroll into our unique labor and birth preparation course, reach out to us at www.birthagni.com or scroll through all available prenatal and postnatal preparation classes. Thank you for listening, all in the spirit of birth, womanhood, and freedom. Remember, you got the bar. This podcast is about physiological birth and does not offer or claim to provide medical knowledge or diagnosis.